you know, the tape on the lighting system here I can get inspired by, or I can get inspired by riding my horse at the weekends and just seeing a bluebell in the forest.
Again, I think the lucky thing for me is I do look at my upbringing and think it enabled me to not have to compromise. That's one of the biggest blessings it gave me, that I always sort of knew, and I even still know, that if everything goes horribly wrong, I can fall back on a really loving, caring, unconditional family unit and we'll be okay, you know, like I have a good buffer. And I think that that afforded me to not compromise my ethics going into my workplace. And I never have, no. I mean, it's always been at the core of everything that I've ever done, is that I have a set of standards and rules that I live my life by. And why would I not take them into my workplace, you know?
Because you're vegetarian and you were raised vegetarian.
Yeah, and I'm just conscious. You know, I was brought up on being on an organic farm. You're conscious of the seasons and the link between nature and humans and how we all live on this planet together. And I also got to tour the world when I was young, so I really had a kind of big overview of travel and the globe, and that I could see a sort of broader conversation, and I've always connected those dots. So for me, coming in, you know, being so lucky as a woman to be able to start your own brand. I mean, there aren't many fashion houses that have someone's name on the door that's alive anymore. You know, really, certainly, let alone a woman, and let alone with a point of view that's not compromising. And you know, I've been very blessed, and I have people now that come to work for me, and you know, they interview to come here because they want to work for a company that has that set of standards and that is thinking in a more responsible way.
Well, you know, I'm the kind of designer that likes to challenge every little thing. I very much design and take every single element of the product into consideration. So I like to look at all the detailing. I like to treat every garment as an individual garment, and rather than outfits and things like that. So I think that I focus more on details. I'm very much a sort of timeless designer. I like to think of things being an investment for the customer. I'm very aware that I work for the customer, and I think that's very important at times like this, to not try and sort of elevate yourself above, at the end of the day, the person who's going to pay your wage, you know, and so that's very important for me. But in the design process, I think giving more rather than giving less, and giving value for money in a product, and just trying to kind of trying to be the best thing out there, you know. It's like, these are competitive times, and I think it makes you creatively try and do a better job.
I can't explain it. I don't overthink it. I think if I overthought things and I went, okay, right, this season I've got to get into the library, and I've got to go to every new contemporary show that's on in the museums, and I need to know what's happening with the young artists or the young this. If I did that, I think I would be probably forcing something that you'd see. You'd see it in my show and you'd be like, what the heck? Who's she trying to be? I trained to be a Savile Row tailor, and I worked with men, and it was very masculine and very sharp and very traditional, and I loved it. And it's brought so much to everything I do. Every season, I can't get away from it. And then at the same time, I have this love of, you know, dusty colors that are aged and delicate and feminine, and, you know, the tactileness of just, you know, soft, beautiful materials and prints, and, you know, or a high heel that's like, you know, totally fierce, and kind of, it's this mix of things. So I think I'm a person of contrast. I've noticed that. I'm definitely kind of masculine, feminine, trying to find the moment where they meet.
Well, I mean, I always did Adidas. I did my collaboration with Adidas. But I think the main thing for me when we get asked to do stuff is to really choose things from the heart. I'm very much, I don't know, I don't like to be hypocritical, just as a person. I think that probably my personality probably comes into the brand. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But I think that it's important for us to make decisions that are really heartfelt for the brand. And
how do you know if a collaboration's right? What's the gut feeling? What's the heart telling you?
I think you just know when you make decisions in life why you're making the decision. I mean, we don't make decisions for financial reasons in the brand. Of course, they're nice. They're like a nice thing to have, but we would never just take that solely into account. It's always whether it's right for our brand. And I think that you can see that. I think that the customer sort of gets it. I think people are really savvy. I've never dismissed the customer. And I think if they think, oh, you know, she's just doing that because she wants to make a bit of cash, or that's really not right, that's not a good marriage, I think they know that, and they're not fooled easily.
From an early age, I was encouraged to be a little bit more sympathetic to our fellow creatures. I didn't even have to think about it. It was just like, if I go in, whatever career I go into, of course, I'm not going to kill animals in the process. It's actually our point of difference, weirdly enough. You know, I was ridiculed for many, many, many years.
What do you mean by ridiculed? I find, you know, were people so kind of dismissive?
I just think anything different in an industry, you're kind of normally made to feel a bit ridiculous. And also, people, you know, they don't like, they don't always like people that are different, do they?
Yeah, it's very
You know.
true.
But it's not easy. I mean, it takes a lot of work, doesn't it? I mean, wouldn't it be much easier to use leather or fur?
Yes, it would. It would be much easier, and we'd probably be a much bigger company if we did so. But you know what? Life's too short. And I love the challenge. I love it. And my team, I think, love the challenge. You know, at first they were like, ugh, really, this is a struggle, you know? And actually then I got a shoe designer who was vegetarian. He was like, this is so great for me. I get to finally work somewhere where I can be the best designer and I don't have to compromise my personal beliefs. So, but it is harder, but you know what? I didn't come into the room trying to make my life easy.
Risk you've taken as a designer, just like leaving the label that you started and then going over to Chloe?
No, I don't think. I think there's been many risks. I mean, I think I'm full of risks. I mean, leaving Chloe was more risky than leaving my brand because Chloe was doing great. You know, I was leaving a major hit and then I was coming back and starting a brand that, you know, that maybe was not going to be a major hit. One of the big executives there, he said, well, you know, name me one brand that has a woman designing for it that has a global success. Like, name me one. You know, as if to kind of scare me out of my decision to leave them. As if to kind of just say, okay, well, good luck, you're going to fail because you're a woman, essentially.
Terrible.
And you're British. She was like, you know, name me a British brand.
I think Anna Wintour actually said once that you were significant as a female fashion designer because there were so few female fashion designers working on a luxury level. Is it still the case there? You know, do you still feel like it's a man's world when it comes to luxury design?
I mean, you know, I like to think it's less the case. I think that it's quite hot to be a woman designing now for women. I think people see that there's a connection there and it makes sense. Like, wow, that took a long time to figure out. You know, I think at the end of the day, if you're good, you shouldn't be sort of judged on your sex. You should be judged on your work.